questions. What are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? Because I feel like it does seem a little, I guess I'll say counterintuitive for me to be saying I'm trying to dial back on my growing and whatnot, or my harvesting and all that, at a time when, grocery prices are just getting higher and higher. I'm like, I'm gonna grow a little less. Hey guys, okay, so a little bit of a different setting today. So kind of trying to work some things out, or at least get a better idea of where I'm going with the spring and summer gardens. So I'll show you this first. Let me show you this. Okay. So I made this, I guess 2 or 3 weeks ago. So this is the framed in bed. This is, the framed in garden space, one of the fenced in spaces. This is the other one. And then these two are those beds that are on the outside. And then I just have this little list down here of everything I could think of that I had. And even looking at this now, I'm realizing that there are a few things that aren't on here. So definitely gonna have to make some changes. I'm not sure how close I'm gonna try to go with this. A few things. The garlic is already in the ground, so that was planted in the fall or early winter. The hibiscus, those are already there. And then I just set up this space for the peppers last year. Was last year the first year I had the stuff right there? I think so. So the peppers will stay here for a while. And what else? Oh, these dahlias. There's a dahlia already planted there on that corner. And actually there's a dahlia on these corners too. So I don't know why I don't have that marked. Was I gonna move them? Or I just didn't mark them? I think I just didn't mark them. But anyway, there are dahlias on these corners. And I still have that spot right there where I have the fence piece that I'm using for like trellising. So I'll keep doing peas and cucumbers right here because that's already there. This, I have a shade cloth that is actually not even for this section, I don't think, because it's longer than this. So I don't remember exactly which spot I bought that one for, because it is bigger than this. Or maybe it was just the closest that I could get, but I will likely put the kale and cabbage here. I'm gonna do the squash here, just because last year I did those butternut squash that I did on the end of here last year. They did so well. So I'm like, okay, I might need to run that back. So that's why I'm doing that. And I'm actually gonna do the summer squash here, not just the winter squash. And I've been doing potatoes in this bed. That's actually what I made these two beds for, was potatoes. May not do this layout. I'm not sure yet. I don't know. And might end up putting my bush beans in here too. I don't really know, y'all. I don't know. We're just gonna see what happens. Well, not exactly. I'm gonna have some kind of a plan. I'm just not completely sure right now. So, something else to note. I've ordered some in my gardener seeds, and oh, I almost dropped it. Sorry. I think I got 2 cabbages, which I'm not gonna try to do those now. I'll wait and do those in the fall. And so I'll just stick with the green cabbages that I already have started. But yeah, 2 purple cabbages or red, whichever. And what else I get? Cabbages. Oh, I got another watermelon because I wanted an orange one and I kept forgetting that I was gonna do that. So I ordered one from there. And then I have a couple of flower mixes. So I'm thinking I'm gonna do a flower mix down here since I already have the hibiscus here, or hibiscus, whatever. And maybe do the spinach along this front board. Don't know. Okay. And I'll probably end up having to move this over, so I'll probably have multiple cauliflower or cabbage or something down here, not just one on the end. But yeah, I think I want to do some other flowers around where the hibiscus are. So I have a couple of mixes for that, and then I also have a ground cover mix that I bought. So I want to kind of spread that around. Maybe not with these things, because I think I am going to put lettuces or something off in here. Actually, I have so many onions that should be coming up. All of them aren't up yet, but I'm planning on having a lot of onions to put out. So I do think I'm going to put onions just kind of around in different areas, just in spaces. So might be onions or beets or something around those. But I'm definitely wanting to do one of those the ground cover mix over here and just put the tomatoes and things in between. So go ahead and get that stuff started and let it get going pretty well, and then plant my tomatoes. We'll see about that. But yeah, that's where I am. A lot to think about. Even this, so the peppers will be here, but they won't go in for a little bit. So I'll probably do lettuces or something like that over here. Just some cooler season stuff. You know, I could even do some squash, maybe. Nah, I don't know if they'll finish. I don't know if they'll go fast enough, because they'll need it a little warmer to really get going. And I feel like they'll be just now starting to produce at the point that I need them out of the way for the peppers to go in. So I don't know. We'll see about that. But yeah, so this is what's happening. And like I said, this isn't really the final. It gives me an idea of what I have, what I need to put out, and where things may go. Okay, before I get off of this screen, a couple of things I want to mention. So, yeah, I tried some fall stuff. I put it in pretty late, so it's kind of like, if it makes it great. If not, then, whatever. Well, I have some cabbage or something over here that's actually doing pretty well. So that's going to kind of throw off this because they seem to be surviving. So they're still really small. Like, they're not doing anything. I can't use them yet. But they're alive and they seem to be growing pretty well. And I do still have some kale over here as well. Now, I have the kale going here because the kale that I had here, when I covered this up, it's too tall. So this bed over here, especially if I'm covering it over the winter, I have it up higher. So the cover is up higher, which means the kale can get taller and not, be up against the plastic. So that's why I'm putting the kale over here, so that it can stay, over winter and all that. And yeah, so I'll just let you look at that. So okay, back to me. What to say? What to say right now? Sorry, I got y'all so close. So last year, or I don't know if it was during the season or after the season, I actually decided that I wasn't gonna do so much this year, that I was gonna dial it back. And as you can see, that's not really the case, because I do have stuff that there are a bunch of different things that I want to grow. So it was really more a matter of not growing so many of certain things. So that's why I'm trying to throw in more flowers and stuff, just to fill in a lot of the space that I have, because I like having a lot come in, and I intentionally grow more than I need so that I can share it. So I don't want to cut back a whole lot, but it is work, it's maintenance. I have to, take care of this stuff. I have to harvest it. I have to keep it watered and keep the spaces weeded and all that. So I do want to dial that back. But again, that's where a lot of these flowers and me just kind of filling in spaces is coming in, to try to help suppress weeds, and even just filling in some spaces that I'm not really planning on doing a whole lot in. So for instance, I'm looking at it, like down there where the hibiscus is, I'm not planning on putting much down there. Like I said, I may have to put more than one cauliflower on each side, but I'm not going to try to like do a whole lot with that bottom space. So I'm just going to put some flowers in, like I said, maybe some spinach or something along the front. And there'll be a lot of that, me just kind of filling in space. You see, I had that one spot where the okra was last year, and probably the year before. No, I don't think the okra was there the year before. Where it was last year, though, I'm just doing sunflowers right there. And that's another thing. So, like sunflowers and certain other plants, how they kind of like fix things in the soil or clean the soil, something like that. You know what I'm talking about? I hope you know what I'm talking about. Okay, well, that was kind of the purpose with the sunflowers, not in that specific spot because I just had okra there, so I don't think it necessarily needs any help right there. But I want to put some more of that in. So I used to grow a lot of sunflowers, and with me growing more food, I had to cut back on that because they do inhibit the growth of some things. Like I've literally sat and like seen a tomato plant next to a volunteer sunflower. I didn't even put that in. It just grew up there from some old seeds, and the tomato plants closest to it were struggling. So I ended up taking it out. But yeah, so things like that. Being mindful of that, I can't really just put that stuff in right now. So I am thinking of not trying to succession sow in all of the spaces. So some of these spaces, like over where I have the beets, where the garlic is right now, and I'm gonna put beets and onions, just do some root crops in that bed. I think as those things finish, I'm either gonna do just sunflowers or one of those flower mixes or something like that, or the cover crop mix or something. So I don't know if I'm gonna put anything else in that bed, but we'll see. And it'll be the same thing with some of the other spaces. As they empty, I may not try to succession sow them or succession plant them. I may just go ahead and just throw some flowers in or a cover crop or something and let that be, and just be done with that bed for the rest of the season, or at least until I want to plant fall stuff, if I do anything for fall that needs to go in that space. What else I want to say? Watering. Okay, because watering is really the bigger problem that I have with, and the bigger reason behind me wanting to dial back on my plantings and just how much space I'm using, because this is just the garden beds, right? So I still have the front border space, the back border, that other like new little bed that I made on the back on the other side of the patio, and that new one it'll pretty much just be ornamental stuff. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there'll be some flowers in there that are technically edible, but I'm not planning on eating or doing anything with them, at least not currently. But yeah, it'll be pretty much just an ornamental space. But then I do have, my berries, so my strawberries, blueberries, blackberries in that bed right along the long bed across the back of the house. And then I have a few strawberry plants in the front border. I don't think there's anything else up there. I have a lavender or two, but I don't use, I use lavender, but not like that. I have chamomile growing up there too. So there are a few things edible in those beds, but for the most part, it's ornamental stuff. So as I was saying, I have to maintain or keep all of this stuff watered, but then I have to keep that stuff watered as well. And it's not terrible. I have soaker hoses in those beds. Well, not the newest one, but the two longer borders. I have soaker hoses in those, and those, it seems to do pretty well for me. But as far as just generally watering everything or keeping things watered, I've been thinking about doing drip, and I really wanted to do that before going into this season, but with the way I shift things, I mean, like you saw, there are a few things, because I have a little bit of infrastructure set up for those things, I keep them in those spaces. But for the most part, I kind of move things around, which means the spacing isn't going to always be the same, because some stuff needs more spacing, some needs less. And that makes it hard to really set up drip without having to basically rerun drip whenever I change to something else, or have it where it's not getting as close to the plants as I needed, or I'm having to change my setup to try to accommodate where the emitters or the holes are in the drip lines or tape or whatever. So I don't know. I think I'm gonna try trenching this year. I think I want to try that. So it'll just be, I kind of wanted Oyas, but I have so many different spaces that it's like it would take a lot of those. Which Oyas are like, it's like the terracotta thing that's like a pot when it's like closed off at the top. Well, closed off has like a cap or cover on it, and you fill it. It's like down in the ground. You fill it with water, and then it seeps through because you know terracotta's porous. So let me see. I'm gonna show you something. Hold on. Okay, so like I have this plant right here with me. So like this is darker down here because it's still got some moisture in it, right? So I'm just showing this for those of you who aren't familiar with terracotta and how that kind of works. So how light this is, it would stay like this if it's dry, right? Maybe even a little lighter than this. But when it's wet, when there's water in it, it gets into the pot, okay? So that's really how the Oyas work. So you fill it with water, and then, you know, cover it up so it's not just evaporating out or stuff's getting in it. And then it seeps out. So the soil around it and the roots around it are able to pull water from it. So that's how those work. That's the short version. There's probably a little more to that, but that's the gist of it, right? So yeah, I wanted to do that, but again, it would take too many of those for all my spaces. So yeah, I think I'm gonna do a trench method, some type of trench method, at least in some of the spaces. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. There's just so much to think about and kind of decide on. Another thing with me trying to fill in the space, but not in such a productive way, is to provide some cover for the ground, because I do mulch. I do, you know, compost mulching, so that does help. But yeah, just filling in the space is going to help some too with the water retention. So just like I was talking about putting in lettuce plants and things like that, okay, sorry, let me pause here. So going back to me saying that I wanted to kind of dial back, but then I'm still like, I'm putting all this stuff in. Well, I don't intend to actually harvest all the stuff that I'm putting in. So some of this, just going now back to me saying that about the lettuce, if I put a bunch of lettuce in, I'm not going to be so pressed about trying to harvest it. So I will harvest it, but if some of it's going bad, then I mean, it's fine. It's just filling in the space. It's giving some cover to the ground, which is helping to retain moisture, also helping to suppress weeds. And even just having the plant there itself takes up space that a weed would otherwise try to take, right? So that's really the thought process there. So there'll be stuff growing that I won't necessarily just be right on top of it with harvesting, and that'll be fine. But yeah, okay. I think that's all I wanted to say on this right now. Yeah, trying to get an idea. So, questions. What are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? Because I feel like it does seem a little, I guess I'll say counterintuitive for me to be saying I'm trying to dial back on my growing and whatnot, or my harvesting and all that, at a time when, you know, grocery prices are just getting higher and higher. I'm like, I'm gonna grow a little less. But, you know, I'm still gonna have a lot, you know, to deal with, you know, just for me and sharing with people and all that. There's still gonna be a lot of stuff coming in if everything's productive. Sometimes things are not productive. But yeah, I just wonder what you guys are doing with your spaces. You like trying to pack it out, or you like I can grow enough without packing this out. And what are y'all doing with watering? How are y'all watering? Because watering gets to be a little bit of a pain, especially in the hot part of the summer. It gets to be a lot. So, yeah, I don't know. That's it, y'all. Just kind of thinking through this, talking through it. I don't know. Trying to come up with a plan. See ya.